Welcome to the Eye on Annapolis Local Business Spotlight. There are thousands of locally owned businesses in the area, some small and some large. Some you may know and others you don't. But one thing they all have in common is a great story, and we want to share it with you. Join us every Saturday as we talk to the founders, the owners, and the managers of local businesses you have come to know and love, and those you will come to know and love. Now here's your host, John Frenay, with this week's Local Business Spotlight.
On the phone with us today is Mack Lewnes, who has a very familiar name if you are from Eastport or Annapolis or any kind of an aficionado for steaks, but you are one of the proprietors of Lewnes Steak House. How are you?
Doing well, John. Thanks for having me on.
Oh, man, this is awesome because I was just thinking about, okay, what am I going to talk to Mack about when I get him on the phone? I said, I wish you had your steaks every single night of the week because these are such a special treat when you go there. And to be honest with you, I go there more often, and I do love your salad. Sit on the corner of the bar and have a salad is fine. And I'm also trying to lose some weight, but I have never had a better steak than I have at Lewnes's. And that's, that's saying something. I've had a number of them, but that you guys are the steakhouse in Annapolis, if not Maryland, and the greater DMV. So there's my kudos to Lewnes Steak House.
Thanks, John. No, I appreciate it. It's a lot of, in the steak world, it's a lot of scrutiny. It's a lot of us focusing on consistency and, the fact that we have support. We've had the same butcher, since we started.
Oh, wow.
Chris Off, he's actually Eastport, Annapolis native. His parents actually took care of our parents, actually my grandfather, so there's a long line of relationships there on the back end too, of the same person that has helped us achieve like the highest consistency and scrutiny, because that's what it is. It's, you go after prime beef and you look at these cuts and they inspect it and then we inspect it. We make sure they're up to our standards and he supports us if like, hey, this one's not looking great or this one doesn't look too good. He helps us on the back end. And that kind of stuff really goes a long way. In the steak world.
It really does. One of my funniest steak stories was up in Boston, so I can tell it's not a direct competitor, but there was I literally missed a boat to a convention, and I said, okay, well, I missed it, so what can I do tonight? Give me a good steakhouse. And they recommended Abe and Louie's, which I think may be a very small chain, but it was up on Boylston Street. And I went in there. It was a great place, sat at the bar. I'm just alone by myself. I had a big filet, and I had a salad, and I think two cocktails, and everything was, a la carte with the potatoes and everything else. It was just a fantastic steak and didn't even look at the menu really as far as any kind of pricing or so. So the end of the night comes down. The guy drops down a bill for $150. And I look at it and I was a little bit shocked going, wow, I can't believe I ate $150 worth of food. And then I'm going, but you know what? It was worth every penny. It was that good. And that's exactly the experience that I get when I dine at Lewnes's. And I'm not saying that your steaks are $150, but it's, it is. You walk out of there, and Lewnes's is a great location for somebody that's celebrating something special, whether it be, I know my girlfriend and I have celebrated birthdays and anniversaries there. It's just a very special piece of history in Annapolis and Eastport. And you guys have been around, since 1921? Was that? Yes,
1921, on the 100-year anniversary this year.
Look at that. My math is off. I just looked at that. I said, wow, it is the 100th-year anniversary. So how did this all start? You don't sound like you're 100.
No, not 100. Not yet.
You might feel like you're 100. You might feel like you're 100 after this year, but that's...
the last year aged us 50, 60 years. Good. We'll get through it. But yes, it is very fun being part of such a rich tradition and history. I'm so proud to speak to it. Talked about it most nights if people ask or something. We'll stand on that. My brother and I are at the steakhouse most nights. At least one of us is there every night. Certainly a point of pride talking about our great grandparents and grandparents and father, and Charlie is still very much in the business, and he's the main boss. We get our approvals past Charlie, and it's been a lot of fun. It started with Sam, who is my great grandfather. He came over, he started Sam's Corner right in the same location that we're in now, that little bar area that you walk into.
I want to interrupt you real quick. For those that don't know, shame on you, but they're at 401 4th Street, which is at the corner of 4th and, not Chesapeake, 4th and Severn.
Severn, correct.
Right across 4th Street from the Boatyard.
Yep. right next to the
But
boatyard.
so Sam came down and established it right on the corner of 4th and Severn?
Yes. Yeah. Sam's Corner is what it's called. Sam's Corner. And yeah, he sold all sorts of things. Ice cream, beer, wine.
So it wasn't a steakhouse to start?
No. It's changed concepts a handful of times. All the way up to 94 is when it was my father who changed it into a prime steakhouse.
What was that? I missed it by 2 years. I moved here in 96. What was it in 93?
93, it was called Sam's Restaurant. And this is when Charlie, my father, took it over. When he took it over, he brought back Sam's Corner. So just to give you an idea, my great-grandfather Sam, he started it as Sam's Corner. Then you fast forward, and my grandparents were in there, and my great uncle, so his brother, were in there, and they still had it as Sam's Corner. My grandparents broke off and started Bridgeview Restaurant in a different location where Blackwall Hitch is now. And my great uncle Louie, he took over Sam's Corner, changed the name to Lewnes Bar and Grill. Then when it was solely my great uncle's, he made it to Lou's Restaurant. And then fast forward quite a bit of time until my father got into the business. When he took over that location, again, where Lewnes Steak House is now, he renamed it back like as an homage to Sam, our great-grandfather, his grandfather, Sam's Corner. So then he changed to Sam's Corner. Then he got a liquor license. It was the first time in our family anybody was able to get a liquor license. Got that in 93. Then he changed it to Sam's Restaurant. And that's when a little curveball hit Charlie, because he loved prime steakhouses. He was doing his homework. I think it was a dream of his to have a steakhouse. And he was going out and trying different steakhouses. He'd take a train up to New York and try some of these classic old school New York style steakhouses. And in 93, the pipes froze overnight and burst. And this whole second floor of the restaurant was ruined. I mean, it was, I can't imagine. I mean, I was in kindergarten, so I knew nothing of this. I didn't know what was going on. I was just playing around the playground. And it was a pretty scary point of understanding whether, making the decision of, rebuilding, getting out of the business. Thankfully, my mom, Pam, she was a special ed teacher for 34 years. She had a stable job and she was taking care of us. So it allowed Dad to be able to take this risk. So when the pipes froze and burst, decided to revamp it and turn it into a prime steakhouse. So that was 1994. And then Lewnes Steakhouse was born, and we've been a prime steakhouse ever since.
Brilliant idea. And here we are. We're recording this in International Women's Month, actually on International Women's Day. And look, there's a woman behind a man that's holding the fort down while he chases his dream of opening a steakhouse.
Oh, yeah. Oh, absolutely. I mean, we're very, very, very fortunate with the women in our entire lineage. My grandmother I didn't get to know my grandmother as much as I would have loved to. I mean, she passed away when I was pretty young. And, but gosh, I heard great stories about her being a strong businesswoman too. I mean, she made some savvy deals. She bought land when she was, kind of to I think when you could go, and I might not be retelling this exactly, but I'm pretty sure when you could go to City Hall and just buy some land, she would go in and make some pretty strong decisions. And she's bought some land that has turned out to be great investments.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean,
hey, I got a couple extra bucks. I'm going to go buy an acre. That's so weird. Just because your dad was in the restaurant business, the steak, what drew him to steaks? Do you know?
Oh gosh. We've talked about how much he's loved that feel and he's loved that hospitality. I don't know if I've ever really said, hey, what was the original core that drew you to that? But I would have, if I could take a guess, the Greeks, just the Greek family and that whole idea of hospitality is very big in the Greek family. If you haven't been to like a fully Greek family, they will force feed you. If you have to say no 10 to 30 times to not actually have food when you go into a Greek household. And I think with Dad growing up with that, hospitality was so big. And then, when he sees these restaurants and he goes to these steakhouses in New York or all across the country. I think he went to Indianapolis too. And I think the hospitality side of it had to have drew him in the most. the fact that you come in, you're right, what you said earlier, it's a special occasion place. It is. We want to make it above and beyond. It's about that experience when you come in, we want to take care of you. We obviously have to have great steaks, and the product needs to be there. But the other side of it, the service, probably really initially drew them in. I mean, I know I can tell you right now, obviously it's a core focus of ours. I mean, hospitality and making someone truly feel comfortable as soon as they walk in the door is the goal. I know it's a core value of ours, but to your question of what originally drew him in there, I have to imagine that had to be a link because it's so ingrained in his family.
And again, you mentioned the service. The service, whether you're sitting at the bar, whether you're at one of the rooms upstairs or, in a private party or whatever, the service is, I mean, it is, the stereotypical white tablecloth, white linens and everything else. But I mean, it's above and beyond. I know your wine list is extensive, and I've never had a bad recommendation because I know nothing about wine. And there's always somebody there that, I know whether I like it or not. And that's about the limit of it. I mean, if you give me a cork to snip and I'm like, I'll snip it and look pretentious, but that's about as far as it goes. You've got the staff really knows their steaks. They really know the menu. And it's almost like friends, even though I don't know a server by first name. Obviously you do because you see them every day, but I'm not there that often to know and forge a friendship, but it feels like that when I walk in there, which is, it's great. And it is a true steakhouse look and feel about it. It's dark. And I don't mean that in a bad way, but I mean, it's just the dark. It's very rich. It's very, it's got the reds and the oaks and I guess oaks or walnuts or whatever the dark woods are. I had no idea the history behind it. And I've just always known that when I've been down here since, like I say, 96, that this was the place to go for steaks. And it's never let anybody down that I'm aware of. Now, how did you yourself get into this? Was this just grown up in here? And that was just...
I'll tell you about that whole genesis, but just first of all, thank you for saying the kind words about our staff. That is absolutely a huge point of pride for us as well. I mean, we are so fortunate with the team in the front of house that we have. I mean, we've had people there 21 years, 20 years, 18, 15 years, 12. I mean, so much of our staff has been with us for such a long time. And because they do just that, they make you feel comfortable. They thankfully and very gratefully that we do have a lot of customers that will know the servers by the first name. In fact, they even request them. They'll have a lot of requests for specific servers. And we're just so fortunate because the whole team really does make that whole experience come true. So I'm glad. I really appreciate that kind of feedback. And, it's just a ton of praise to them because they do a fantastic job for us. But to your question, how did I get into it? I grew up, my brother and I, Sam and I grew up helping out at the restaurant and doing this. We were also very big into wrestling, my brother and I, growing up. So we did that a ton more, we'll even say. That was almost our jobs was training a ton. But when we weren't wrestling, we would help out at the restaurant. We would do some things during the day. It's a lot during summer. Working at nights is kind of just at the front door, being a host, basically doing whatever the managers at the time said. So we got used to the business, and it kind of just grew on us. I couldn't. It's hard for me to go back of understanding like, hey, how passionate was I? But I started developing a deep passion for it. I was thinking, man, I want to get into this. So my brother and I both went to college. We picked colleges with hospitality programs. So we were both set on it. We liked it. And again, fast forward to now, I think I could understand some of these tradition things and some of these historical pieces are some of the reasons why I'm more invigorated by it now, because it just makes it that much of a fulfilling and purpose-driven life.
Right.
So Sam and I did this. So we did hospitality, and then Sam came when he graduated college. He went straight back into the business, and I actually took a total left turn. I went into corporate sales. I was working sales for a power tool company. It's called Milwaukee Tools, and got recruited. The CEO was a big wrestling fan, knew my coach, and got talking. And honestly, I turned down a couple times, just thinking, I didn't know anything about tools. Least manliest guy out there, and I was like, I can't do this, and it wasn't wasn't really interested in it, but it was actually Dad that gave me a shove to like, hey, try it out. You know, you've got a CEO that's talking to you and trying to get you into this business, and you know, check it out. And I am truly happy I did, because my intention was not to go work for Milwaukee Tools and then come back to the steakhouse. My intention was to go work for Milwaukee Tools and run the company someday. And that's the attitude I went into with it. And I'm really happy I did. But after 5 years working with him, I had 6 different jobs with him. You know, working my way up the corporate ladder, I loved it. And I started getting good at business, and I started getting good at running a team and managing a team and building a team and leadership, and knowing the difference between the leadership side and just the managerial side. And man, it was getting so passionate about building a team. And it kind of hit me one time. It was like, gosh, we're all kind of building businesses, and it would be a dream come true if I could do this with my family. So at that about 5-year mark, I left Milwaukee on very good terms. There's still, gosh, there's been a couple hundred Milwaukee people that have come to the steakhouse since I've left, and it was a great relationship with them. But I got that itch to be in our family business and to work with my family. And it's, you know, it's like what I said previously, it's like a purpose-driven part that you feel so good about doing and building our business. And now that I'm back in the family business, you know, Sam and I have just talked about being very, very scared of complacency, trying to make sure we've got a good place, and we're not just going to sit back idle. We got to make sure we're staying up, staying current, and keep improving every day.
I've got to imagine that your 5 years experience in the corporate world brought some different skills and thoughts and ideas to Lewnes Steak House that Sam did not necessarily have, or certainly Charlie, in the way they did it. I mean, so that really sort of adds to a great team to be able to say, okay, well, this is, you know, we need to consider this, which is something nobody probably would have considered had you not taken that detour.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It's again, looking back at it, wasn't the plan, but goodness gracious, it turned out to be a great plan, because that 5 years really turned out to be invaluable with the better business person I've become and better person I've become because of that. And now, you know, Sam went straight into the family business. Now he's got a lot more experience that he brings to the table, and he tells, you know, he can help me understand things that, let's just say, as I was coming in, because I've been back with our family's business for the past 3 years. So he's got this experience that I can understand, and I can bring in that corporate background where, you know, it's just growing a business, basically.
Sure. He's probably got some restaurant operational background, operational experiences, and you bring the business background there. Out of curiosity, where did you guys go to school?
So Sam went to Oklahoma State, and I went to Cornell.
Okay. Cornell always had a great hospitality management and hotel management school up there.
Yes, they do. Yeah, I very, very much enjoyed it. And
except it's a little cold up there.
Yes, it is very Russia-esque in maybe 10 months out of the year, but that's okay. I didn't mind.
You know, it's funny. I was looking at schools up that way in upstate New York when I was going to college, and they had little 4x4s in front of the parking lots with plugs. And on a tour of one school, I can't remember which one it was, I said, what's the deal with like the 4x4s in front of all the parking spots? They said, oh, we plug our cars in the winter so they don't freeze. And I made a note to myself saying, okay, this is probably not the place for me. You know, because you plug in your engine block heaters and stuff like that. I was like, okay, that's kind of crazy. If you walked into Lewnes's today, what are you sitting down at the table and ordering yourself?
Oof, man, it's tough. It's kind of a battle between the two extreme sides of the cuts, because all the cuts between the steaks have, you know, different qualities. And you know, one extreme end, it's a fillet. You know, it's hard to beat the tenderness of a fillet. Mm-hmm. And then the other extreme end might be like the cowboy ribeye. A bone-in ribeye's got the most marbling through it, so the most fat going through it. And I don't mean that like as in terms of like a gristle type thing. When I say fat, like stuff that the marbling melts as you.
It melts and it cooks it. It's
yeah. So that's what I mean by marbling it. And the flavor there is just that's that side. I mean, of the cowboy ribeye, I think it's got the most flavor. So those two extremes, honestly, that's what my brother and I will usually get if we go into any steakhouse. It's kind of a good gauge, like a barometer of telling how you can gauge the quality of beef. So those would be my two picks. And if I was very hungry, I'd get them both.
Well, as I look at the menu, you've got a 40-ounce tomahawk ribeye, and I'm like going, it's unbelievable. What is the mark that you and Sam, your brother, are looking to put on? I mean, I'm assuming. I mean, you're partners with your father at this point, right?
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, he's going to want to become just a customer, and
maybe.
And or he wants to hang out and just be a pain in the neck to you both, indefinitely. So that's
he just loves what he does. I mean, he loves. I think Dad is very, very happy that we're both in the business, and it takes a lot of pressure off him because he's got a lot of confidence in us. And don't get me wrong, like he wants the best for us. So when I was leaving Milwaukee to come to the steakhouse, he was the biggest devil's advocate. He wanted to make sure, hey, you got a nice job, you got a corporate car, expense account, gas is paid for, insurance, all these things. You go to the restaurant business, go to a small business, all that's gone. You're working nights and weekends. He was a big devil's advocate. He wanted to make sure. But now that I'm here and now that I'm in the business, you can tell it's kind of I know he loves it. And he's told us it's not a secret. I'm not making guesses here. He loves it, and I know he loves what he's doing too. So I say maybe kind of facetiously because I'm sure he's going to take more time off and he's going to do more things as time goes on. But I know it's not something wearing on him. Like I know he enjoys what he's doing to a point. I know he loves getting updates from Sam and I know he loves doing what he's doing, and he is taking quite a bit off our plate. He's not just hanging around. He takes quite a bit off our plate with some of the paperwork and a lot of the managing. So Sam and I can focus on operations as much as possible.
Well, what is the life of a restaurateur of a fine steakhouse in Annapolis? I mean, are you doing pretty much everything to, hey, the trash can's full, I need to take it out back type to whatever needs to be done? I mean,
we can. Yeah. I mean, there's nothing in the steakhouse we will not do. Absolutely nothing. If the trash is full and we're busy and I need to take it out, it's going out. Right? There's nothing we won't do. But no, just to ask like normal things of what we might be focused on during the day is a lot of planning, especially in these times too, especially in the last year. The planning is more frequent because we have to pivot so much. It's very hard to plan 6 months out and a year out because of all the changes. We don't know what's going to happen. That used to be the case, right? We were planning much further out. Now we're planning, making sure, hey, a couple months from now,
right?
Because we don't know how regulations and how things are going to change and how people are going to feel, or vaccines are coming, all that stuff. That happens a little bit more frequently. But during the day, a lot of that stuff, a lot of the work that goes on behind the scenes, we're doing during the day. And then at night, we're in the steakhouse. We're in the steakhouse, and that's when, that's the experience. That's the part where we're executing all the plans that we've laid out. So we're planning for the evening. We're planning for this week. We're planning for the next few months. And that amount of time used to be a bit further out before COVID.
Sure.
But now COVID is it's tightened us up a little bit to a point where we don't know exactly how things are going to turn out. But that's a big part of it.
I am just amazed at how well you and your cohorts in all over town have done in the restaurant industry as far as figuring out how to deal with COVID. I mean, and this goes from, Pip's, the hot dog stand across the creek from you guys, to you on the opposite end, to figure it out how say, okay, well, this is what we are dealt. So now we've got to figure out how to play this hand. And you guys have just done such an admirable job of being able to do it. I know, with the carry out and, people that can eat in that are comfortable eating in, and you've given people choices, and certainly gift cards are a great thing to do because, a Lewnes steak is just as good at home as it is, to be honest with you, there.
Thanks, Don. Yeah, you're right. It's not us, obviously, the whole restaurant world. I mean, we really got put in a position to pivot hard. And, fortunately, unfortunately, a lot of places couldn't make it from around the country, and a lot of places figured a way around us. Figured a way. I say around it as they were selling raw steaks, or we were selling at-home meal kits. Gosh, I mean, there was so much going on. And keep in mind, in March when the whole state got shut down,
right?
We didn't know it was going to be 3 months. We took a couple of days to think about it. We were like, hey, do we want to do carry out exclusively? I mean, it's not going to pay for anything.
Right.
So, I mean, this is going to probably maybe 2 weeks? Is it 3 weeks?
Right. That was exactly my thought. I said, okay, so we're gonna get this bug rolling through here in 2 weeks, maybe 3 weeks, and we'll be over. Who would have thought that we'd be here a year later? Have you found that anything has changed moving forward? I mean, is there something that came through COVID? I mean, I know, personally, I think that carryout was not a big deal for you guys prior, on March 8th of 2020. You were probably doing doggy bags or, containers to take home leftovers more than somebody calling up saying, hey, I'd like your cowboy.
Yeah. Yeah, you're absolutely right. That's something, honestly, really, mostly it was just some regulars, a couple regulars that they always got the same thing, or they love this or that. So, hey, I'm going to do a shrimp and a cowboy to go. And we would do it. And it was very infrequent, just like you're saying, not that many people would.
Yeah, I mean, somebody's at home recovering from surgery or something like that. Man, I could go for a steak. Let's call and do that. But do you think that carryout is going to be a thing going forward?
Yeah, I do. I think it's going to be a thing going forward. It certainly has been this past year. It has been a much bigger presence for us, but still comparatively to any other place, like any other concept, prime dining, prime steakhouses, it's still pretty small. It's one of those things where it's absolutely a bigger presence from where we were, being the infrequent thing, to now it's infrequent that we go a night without a carry-out order.
Right.
So yeah, it's night and day, and we focused on it more. We've made sure we're offering a special. We have an Eastport special that will continue to offer. It's right on our website. It articulates it well. It's just, hey, we're ready to take care of people. We've got an extremely safe operation at the steakhouse. We're very well spaced out. We were already set up for a lot of privacy in our place.
You definitely were. I mean, with the high back booths and whatnot in the different rooms, it made it an ideal place to isolate.
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, that's certainly a good piece to our setup. We had to take away a lot of tables upstairs, but our booths was how thick they were and how tall they were. They were approved by the Maryland State Health Department. We could seat back to back and be very safe. We've got these sanitizers pumping through the entire HVAC system.
Right.
Kills everything in the air. I mean, so we really invested a lot in safety. And for those that don't feel comfortable, we put right on our website, we've explained that, hey, we're going to do this takeout special too. That it's strictly for carry-out orders. So we do think it'll continue to be a presence, and we want to do it as much as we possibly can. And sometimes if we're too full at the steakhouse, there still will be a capacity limit. Like we got to make sure we're taking care of all the people in-house first. And sometimes we need to maybe cut out, carry out, like on a really busy Saturday night.
And I'll tell you, with those private rooms, all those different little rooms up there, I mean, that's perfect. I know I've been to a couple of business things. I know a friend of mine that's a broker in town took his clients out there one night for a dinner. And, of course, I mooched on that one, of course, when they got the invitation. But I mean, you do have private dining there for, large groups and small groups. I mean, you can do
Absolutely.
Weddings and receptions and all that kind of stuff, right?
Absolutely. That's something that's more of our forte from Sunday through Thursday. Because Friday and Saturday, unfortunately, we're just too full to be able to accommodate a room. But on Sunday to Thursday, we are extremely experienced in little private parties, because we can just shut off certain rooms upstairs. There's 3 different rooms upstairs, and got very good at. We have always been very good at hosting those kind of parties. And as things start opening up more, they can be larger and larger as we can safely do it. But those are certainly something that I see growing and growing, especially this year with, I think, business expenses, our business meals being able to be expensed a little bit more freely. It's something we love. We love hosting. we're good at it, and we can accommodate a nice private setting.
Well, it's also perfect for like a family reunion or something like that if you want to go out
yeah.
for a dinner or whatnot there.
Absolutely.
Hey, how old is your building there?
Oh man, at least 100.
Is it
at least
okay?
100 years old.
Okay. So this is an original building. Any ghosts?
Oh, I'm sure Uncle Louie's walking around. You know, so when you look at the steakhouse, it's on the corner there where it's Sam's Corner. That is the original place. That is the original steakhouse. It wasn't until about 14 years ago, the building that actually looks like a different building that's to the right as you're looking at it, that's actually my great Uncle Louie's house. And we bought that. My dad bought it from Uncle Louie. I want to say like 14 years ago. He bought Uncle Louie's house 14 years ago, and he turned that into a dining room. So, and he wasn't allowed to, Charlie, Dad was not allowed to tear that building down. He had to retrofit that building to make it a dining room. So I don't know what was there before Sam's Corner. I think it was like a grocery store before there. But
makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, there's some family history that goes gray, right? I don't know what we did during Prohibition. They sold beer and wine,
right?
And the family history goes gray. No, I'm sure they just didn't sell beer and wine.
Well, I'll tell you, as you're going into your 101st year, are you doing any kind of special?
John,
I mean,
it was on the list on March last year.
On March 8th of 2020 to start to plan for it.
Well, yeah, we were talking about like what we're going to do. We had some ideas of like celebrating the heritage, of bringing out more pictures and doing some things. And it just, we want to do something. We're going to figure something out. But it just took a massive dive in the priority list of how many things we needed to accomplish. And obviously the resources are at a different level this year. So 2021 is a bit of a recovery year, rebuilding. We want to make sure we're building back smarter.
Right.
We do want to do something. We'll figure out something, but we don't have anything on the books, anything planned.
Well, what do you and Sam have in mind for the next 100 years? Not necessarily in the next year or so. I mean, what do you see any growth? Do you see expansions
both Sam, me, and Dad too. We all really do love the idea of the only place you can get the Lewnes Steak House experience is right in Annapolis. So I don't see us doing another Lewnes's, just because, our entire restaurant is filled with black and white pictures of old Eastporters, families, friends. It'd be very hard to replicate that somewhere else because that's so much of the personality. It's part of the history of our family in that same location. If we replicated it, it wouldn't be Lewnes's. It could be maybe another restaurant, but still do a nice job. But we, as far as expansion goes, Sam and I, absolutely, there could be other business opportunities that we look into. But right now we are so focused on making sure we've got this steakhouse running so well. And it does run very well. But, just like I said, of being scared of complacency, we want to make sure we're keeping up with the times. We're focusing on things that's going to help us improve and how we can get better and how things can run systematically behind the scenes and, flow as normal and as smoothly as an operating night. Because, we do have a fantastic staff and our servers have been with us, like I said, for, you've got from anywhere from like 10 to 20 years, but you got to keep in mind, like, okay, how much are we not doing because we have so much confidence in our servers? So that's something Sam and I need to think about. Unfortunately, one day we're not going to have those servers. They're going to retire and sit on a beach and drink cocktails. We got a plan for it. Okay, so how do we make sure we're trained to reach the same level? How do we make sure we develop some of these documents and operating rhythms? The fact that we've been so fortunate to have like X and Y and all these great servers. So those are some of the things that Sam and I are truly focused on, really making sure everything's running efficiently and how can we make it more of a staple in Annapolis? How can we make it is the place you think of when you think of Annapolis? You think of, I think of Annapolis. That's the place with the Naval Academy and that steakhouse.
Right.
That'd be fantastic to get to that point. And we just have to, it's the little things every single day of just focusing on how we can get better, how we can be more hospitable, all those things of running a business and celebrating our history, doing some of those things that, like you said, of celebrating these 100 years. It's important. We do want to do it. It's just, right. Yeah, it's been tough to plan.
Time and time again, and been since 1921, 1993 as the steakhouse that we know it
94.
now. 94 is the steakhouse that we know it now. It's an institution certainly in Eastport and Annapolis, and I can tell you there have been many steakhouses that have come into town and gone. You had the Governor's Grill that was a flash in the pan. You had the Annapolis Steakhouse. You had Morton's that came and went. There was the Chop House. There was another one, I think, over in the Severn Bank building in the middle of Westgate Circle that was...
What's that, Greystone Grill?
That's exactly what it was.
Yeah, I was pretty young at the time, but I remember that being around.
And again, the one that sticks around is the one that's been here since 1921, Lewnes Steak House. And we were on the phone with Mack Lewnes, who is one of the trio of the proprietors of the steakhouse. And for those that want to check out their menu and check out the decor and everything that they're doing to keep everybody safe, their website is lewnessteakhouse.com. And I'm going to spell that because it might be difficult just listening to it. It's LEWNES steakhouse.com. And again, they're on 4th Street, right across from the Boatyard Bar and Grill, right at 401 4th Street, 4th and Severn Avenue. If anybody's looking for perhaps the best steak you've ever had, that would be a place to go. I mean, you're going to get spoiled. Trust me. Mac, thank you very much for your time today. I think the history of it of the business is fantastic. I think more so is that it's a family business and that you are a small local business. You are the one that cares. You are the people that are running around. I mean, I'm sure that when something goes awry in the restaurant, which, I mean, let's face it, things happen at any restaurant, no matter the level, that it probably just makes you and Sam and Charlie absolutely nuts.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Well, we're right there. We're right there with everyone.
And, but you've been doing this for, 100 years, and the steaks, locally sourced steaks. You said Auth Brothers?
Yeah, the Auth Brothers. They're right here. Now,
the finest steak you will get in Annapolis, finest steak you're probably going to get in Maryland, and I put it up against any steakhouse in New York or Boston or Chicago, any day of the week. That would be a good thing. We ought to meet someplace in the middle and bring the best steakhouses around and see how everybody fares.
Yeah, I'd love it. As long as I could be a part of the taste testing crew there.
Without a doubt. Mack Lewnes, thank you very much for your time this afternoon. Congratulations on 100 years. I'm looking forward to seeing what 2022 will hold for your 100th anniversary celebration, whatever that may be. I think 2020 is going to be, when you look at the calendars, it's going to be like the 13th floor of a high-rise in New York.
Yeah.
You look at the elevator, and it's going to be like, okay, 10th, 11th, 12th, 14th, 15th. You're just going to go.
Exactly.
My kid was funny that she was laid off earlier during 2020. She says, "What am I going to do about the gap in my resume?" I said, "All you've got to do is just say 2020, and everybody's just going to nod and understand exactly what was going on. So not to worry." But you guys have done a great job with COVID, making sure everybody is safe. I know when you first go to the website, you've got the Eastport special, which is a carryout, a couple different options to add on to your favorite steak or your favorite dish onto that as well. But the place is set up to keep everybody safe, and you've taken the extra steps to make sure that that remains so. And the staff is there, and it's awesome. Go to Lewnes Steakhouse.
Thanks.
Thanks for listening to this week's Local Business Spotlight. Please make sure to visit eyeonannapolis.net for all your local news, events, and opinion. And in case you haven't already, please subscribe to the Eye on Annapolis Daily News Brief, where we bring you all the day's local news direct to your phone, tablet, or computer in about 10 minutes. It comes to you at 6 a.m. every Monday through Friday, and you can subscribe on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.